Hello, I'm Sonia Doubell and you're watching The Secret Bliss, and this is part 2 with Steve Nobel today. So Steve is the ex-director of Alternatives, a 30-year-old company running spiritual workshops in London. And Steve is also the author of 4 fabulous books, and he runs writing retreats around the world. He's also a life coach and a mentor to many. So Steve, welcome back.
Thank you.
So part 1 was really amazing. It was lovely to hear about your journey and the transition from 20 years being in a profession and a life that wasn't congruent for you, and then taking this leap into the spiritual world of alternatives and offering yourself as part of that lineage, which is amazing and dynamic. But recently you've actually made a very big transition, which is the title of your latest book, Big Transitions, which is so interesting. Because, in fact, when you wrote the Enlightenment of work, this is very apt, because you spent many years in unenlightened situations, which has led you to be able to really, talk about how to work in an enlightened way. So, can we talk about this book?
This book, yes.
I think is, it's a wonderful little book. It's not a very big read, but I feel like it could help a lot of us out there. So what inspired you to write this book?
I had a conversation with a fellow author who was also writing in the area of work and spirituality. And he was coming from, I thought, a very idealistic place. And I remember saying to him, but 99% of the people in the world do not do work they love, or do not really enjoy the work they do, I would say. There's a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And he couldn't see it. I think because if you work in this kind of rarefied bubble for too long, you start to think, everyone, like Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. Everyone's like that.
Yes.
But I realise most people are not like that. So the chapter 1 of that is why suffer? And I think that, it draws on a lot of Buddhist philosophy that suffering exists in the world, and I think for a lot of people work is a strong source of suffering. If you're doing work that you hate, that restricts your potential, that is not in line with your soul's purpose, or blah 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 blah, suffering happens.
It's like working for survival and not for joy.
You see people in a lot of workplaces, you must go in them and they're flat, they look motionless, they look kind of robotic, and you feel that they're in this kind of structure that kind of traps them and squeezes them, and they have to do it for money, which is sad.
Yeah, it is. Do you think it's possible to do what you love and earn money? I mean, in a spiritual way, I would like to say idealistically, do what you love and it's going to pay the rent. But how do you get to that?
Well, it's a journey, and sometimes on the journey, particularly in transition points, like in my transition between local government and alternatives, I did a year and a half of like, wow, what do I do now? Sell books, sell blue-green algae, do gardening, painting houses. I did everything, which was way beyond my zone, and almost like I was thrown in and had to do it. So sometimes when we're transitioning, we might have to do things which are part of our growth, but are a bit outside our zone,
I understand that.
So it's not like, well, if you meditate like this, then suddenly the work that you love will appear. It's not quite, it is a journey, and sometimes the journey is like that, and up, down and down.
It's a bumpy road to finding that smooth path.
It takes courage, because what you're trying to do is, in terms of work, is you're trying to lift your vibration higher than the collective, and I think, does that make sense?
Total sense. Raising your vibration.
Collective is controlled, a bit anxious, a bit like whatever.
And I also think it's very it's interesting when you talk about vibrations, because when you join a collective and you renounce your individual expression, you somehow renounce a part of yourself. You kind of dumb down your energy, and that would be a very low frequency. You'd almost have to be just to sustain it. You'd almost have to numb yourself out to do it, to get on the treadmill and go and do it, and paper pushing or do whatever you need to do that isn't you. There's a different sparkle that comes into your life when you suddenly are expressing your truth.
And it's all about direction. It's about what you truly value. It's about what you like. But it can be very it could be very surprising. Like when I wrote the book, I met a guy who was a delivery driver, delivering parcels, and I looked at him and there was something different about him, and I said, you seem to enjoy what you're doing. A lot of people come and they get the sign and they're like dull, but he had a light to him, and I said to him, well, do you love what he said, I love this job. And I'm like, oh, tell me more, because I wanted to find out.
Yes.
He trained as a lawyer was in the city, or for I don't know how many years, and he couldn't bear the politics, couldn't bear the kind of the control and all that, and he just left and went travelling, and then came back because freedom, he discovered, was his value, and he wasn't going to get that in law. So driving a delivery van for him was an absolute freedom.
Wow.
So it's not that you have to have this job that pays you mega bucks and suddenly you're all singing. Sometimes it can be very unusual.
Yes.
I've met people who work in forestry who are just so radiant because they want to work with trees.
Yeah.
Or I've met people. There was a case in America of it was a very famous case that actually that somehow they tracked that the crime rate in the state was dropping at different times of the day. And they couldn't work, and they tracked it to this bus that was driving through this state.
Yeah.
That actually the energy of this guy was so amazing that he impacted on the neighbourhood around. And I thought it was a phenomenal study. So just driving a bus with such a radiance, he could impact on the environment around him. It was
so really, it's almost like if you are, honest and truthful in who you are and what you want to do, you have the ability, no matter what you're doing, to impact others.
Yeah.
Because your happiness will then just radiate into the world, which is really, this is really an ideal world if we can all step into that energy and just do it. But it's interesting to me again what you said about he was, delivering parcels. You see, our society has made us value monetary reward. So we think that if it's a job that isn't really, doesn't have a big, monetary reward, how could he be happy?
Yeah.
It's our brain, the way our mind is set. But of course somebody could be happy gardening, even if they aren't making a lot, because they just love they're passionate about gardens.
Yeah.
So it's moving away from what we value as monetary rewards to what we value as who we are and our expressions.
And eventually the two come together.
And they come together.
This great split in the centuries has been you do a job that you hate, get lots of money for it, and that's good reward because you hate the job.
Yeah.
Or you do something you love and you get absolutely nothing. Like Mozart died poor, and like that kind of. So what we're heading now is to heal the split. So actually you can do things you like, and actually you can get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And so more and more, it's going to take time. I think these things are going to take decades before it. Like 20 years ago, do a job that you love or feel passion for wasn't in the collective at all.
No.
Now it's in the collective. It's kind of come over.
Job was a duty.
Job's duty.
Yeah.
You've got a family, and fair enough. You need to earn money. But the journey is, how do I balance the two? And sometimes there's a bit of that, sometimes a bit of that. Sometimes you're not getting paid so well, sometimes you are. Like I did a job recently, project managing, it was part-time, getting huge amounts of money for it and enjoying it, and then I stopped enjoying it. And I'm like, I was looking around thinking, I don't enjoy it anymore. And I stopped doing it. I just said, I just feel that you're ready to take this project on yourself. And they went, oh, all right. And I just stopped it.
Yeah.
Even though I was getting lots of money, I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So for some people it gets like that, and I loved it for a while, and then stopped doing it. And if I'm doing writing retreats, but when I stop loving it, I'll stop doing it.
And what do you say? I totally get that. What do you say with people? What message could you maybe share with people that are in a place right now, low frequency, work they don't like, and just feel so stuck in that space?
Okay, well, a very, very simple way. So I'll give you a friend who was actually a friend I was kind of coaching as well. Yeah. And she was, she came on this writing retreat and she was saying, yes, but and she was very passionate about it. She's Irish, passionate, and but my work doesn't really give me space for it. So I said, okay, let's just find out, what do you want to do? And she said, I've always wanted to act.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, right. Well, I know this really good acting course I think you should do. And she just said, all right, and she signed up for it. And she's about 3 or 4 months into it now. That acting course has had such a power in her that it's starting to spill out on the rest of her life.
Wow.
Because it's lifted her vibration up so much that she can't necessarily tolerate other situations in the way that she did before.
Okay.
And I think if we start finding a way to lift our vibration, our energy, going back into a very low vibrational field, eventually you might have to say either I can't do it anymore or this has got to change, right?
You might hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
which is what you did, which is what was the catalyst for you, which you just physically could not do it anymore.
I couldn't do it anymore. Sometimes work environments are up for change. Particularly small companies are easier to shift. If you're working in a megalithic corporation, I would say forget it. You're not going to change them unless you're brought in as a consultant. And even then, you have a limited ability to change that company. If they're not up for change, you're not going to change them. And so when I worked for Lambeth...
They might change you though.
When I was working in Lambeth, my senior manager said, we're up for change. And the senior manager above her said, we're up for change. But when I did it, the organisation really wasn't up for change. And the resistance I got was huge. From management and from staff. So I thought, okay, it's just lip service. You said you're up for change, but when you come to it, you're not. So I'm out of here. That's why I kind of decided I want to leave.
That's your whole journey, which is how this came about, the enlightenment of work, was really a reflection. This was a reflection of what you knew you were suffering. You knew you were suffering, and you knew you were just staying in it because of fear and lack of courage, right? I mean, these are common feelings. And I always think that when I look at my life and I think of times that I've stayed in things because I'm fearful or I don't have the courage or there's something stopping me and I investigate. And when I do overcome it, I think a little bit like, okay, I was meant to have that experience because one day I'm going to lead somebody through the same tunnel I travelled.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you look at that, this resulted to lead many people through that tunnel and through your work. You now are saying, look, I was there. I know the tunnel. You know, even though you can't see and the lights are off, let me tell you, this is the way to navigate through it. So do you think that this transition can be slow, or do you think we have to leap? So do you think somebody could go, okay, I am unhappy, but on the weekend I'm going to do that course and just slowly start to kind of know that they are, just have that awareness that they're now doing it not just like a herd animal, but they're doing it with an awareness that they're starting to make a slow transition. Would you say that that's possible?
That's a very viable way for a lot of people. For some people like me, unfortunately, I can't do it that way. You know, and you're very right that there's a saying in therapeutic circles and coaching circles that the coach or therapist can only take you as far as they've gone themselves. And because we've had our own kind of journey, we understand. So I can take a certain group of people on a journey because I've done the journey. I've been stuck. You know, if I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and I'd say, let me help you shift from there to there, I wouldn't have a clue how to do it because I've never been in that kind of vibration. But I've worked in workplaces where the vibration are, you know, it's about attack, it's about let's what do you call it? Shift the blame, scapegoating. I've seen all those dynamics. And
anything for survival. You know, just self-preservation.
I've seen the worst kind of office politics. I've seen blood on the floor of the worst kind. I've been through court cases, you know, out in alternatives and in Lambeth when I was managing. There was kind of there was public inquiry, all kinds of crap that I've seen going on. And these are the human dynamics, but under a certain band of vibration, that's what goes on. And I've seen it. I'm like, I don't necessarily want to hang out there because it's very, very painful. So for people who want to go up, you've got to find a way, like inspiration, up, creativity, up, mindfulness, up, whichever way is your way up. And the pivotal place of choice is courage. You get to a place where you say, there must be more to life than this, I cannot do that anymore, I'm just going to go on the journey. I don't know where it's going, but I have to go. That's courage. And that takes a lot of pain and a lot of desire. Like the soul works with two. It can amp up the pain to force you out, or amp up the desire through maybe spiritual teachers. You go, wow, that's amazing. So I had both working in my life. Did it feel like a lonely path when you were when you kind of said, you know what, I am going to do this now, and goodbye to the tribe that I knew? It's a lonely path. It's almost like, you know, you sort of have your rucksack and off you go up the mountain, and you have to keep reminding yourself why you're doing it. You have to keep, because often you can look back and go and look at the world and think, did I my house, my car, so it's a lot of, you know, self-talk must go on. A lot of self-talk. Support is very good. You know, our support system is family in the world, but the concept of soul family, you You know what I mean?
Like having people around you on the same journey.
Yeah, the same journey, same vibe, and they in some ways can become stronger than family, that you just totally go, almost like, they're like angels that turn up on the path.
Yeah. I do know exactly
you know what I mean?
you mean. Yeah.
It's a bit like the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell. There's angels that turn up and very strong challenges, like almost like the witches or the dragons go, you can't pass, and know you're on the right track when people say you cannot pass. Because the big pivotal shifts in my life have been when people have said, stop, don't go there, you cannot do this. Like when I started interviewing, I had 2 friends said, you can't do that. And I'm like, why? You can't do that. And I just went through it. I thought, wow, this is one of those things on the path where people say you can't do this. So you get a mixture of support and block as a way of, I am going to do this, and you're not going to tell me I can't do this.
Right, so
off I go.
Some resistance actually strengthens your drive, doesn't it? I'm going to carry on doing what I'm doing.
But if I say, Sonia, you're not going to do this anymore. I think actually you shouldn't do this anymore. You're going to go, bugger you, I'm doing it. Who's he telling me what to do?
Watch me now.
Yeah. And sometimes when people do that, it actually is a great motivator.
Yeah.
Some people are motivated
depends
that way.
who you are.
It's very
depends
different.
who you are. Some people need a lot of different encouragement.
Some people need support. Some people.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of support and challenge.
Yeah.
The path is a mixture of support and challenge.
Yeah.
If there's not that happening,
and the right balance, isn't it?
You're on the wrong path.
But I do think that sometimes we have to sit. Is there a part of this book where you say get quiet, get really quiet, and listen? I mean. When I was flicking through, there was this get quiet, and I thought, get quiet is so important. We're so busy sometimes, we don't see it. We don't see ourselves, we don't see our heart's desire, and we don't have that. There's a voice inside each one of us that holds so much courage that goes, you know what? You can, no matter what's happened before, no matter what the past looked like, you can do what you want to do now.
Yes.
And it's like that moment of getting quiet so that you can stand up like the falcon from the ashes and just do it. Do whatever it is that you want to do. And maybe slowly, or maybe like you did, just like that.
There is a chapter, Be Yourself, which is all about mindfulness, quieting, meditation, which is an essential practice.
Yeah.
Because once you start doing this, there are many voices in our head.
Oh, lots.
And there's the voice of courage that's going, but they're often drowned out by voices like the inner mother or the inner critic or the inner, don't do it, or all these voices. And the trouble is that most people are not aware that the yammer all the time that's going on. Yeah. And it almost if you tune into it, it's almost like it's a frequency you kind of was here at the beginning. Yeah. But when you start to really listen to it and get down there, and you hear the conversations, it's like, oh my God, that's what I'm talking to myself. And this is the cause of depression, of self-hatred, of low self-worth, the conversations that go on, circular ones in the head, that you have to go stop, and insert new conversations.
Yeah.
That's why speakers or spiritual teachers start to be new conversations in the head. Yes, you can do it.
Yes.
Why not give it a go? In terms of coaching, hearing those conversations in the client head is an essential bit, and going, it's interesting you're telling yourself that. Yeah. What about a different conversation? And for most people, it's part of their reality. They don't know that the conversation and reality are just creating their daily lives.
Well, it's for me, I think that one of our greatest things is self-study, and our textbook for it should just be awareness. And if I could just write a book and say, right, it's one word, it would just be awareness. Yeah. Awareness. What are you thinking? What is the conversation playing? What is the conversation playing most of the time that you're not aware of?
Yeah.
And that is the conversation that is not letting you live your life's mission.
Yeah.
Because we all have a life mission. Every single one of us. Yours was 20 years in an unenlightened environment to write a book that will help many people come through theirs.
Yeah.
Now, in a transition, your book, Big Transitions, and helping other people. If you can just help one person to change their lives, we've done good service on this planet.
Yeah.
So, coming from this conversation into your writing retreats, what is a writing retreat? For those of you who don't know.
So I do workshops in London and retreats. I met you in Greece.
Yes.
You were at the airport.
That was really synchronous.
Yeah,
It's some random little airport in Greece in July. It was amazing.
What was it? Thessaloniki, I think.
Exactly.
It was. Yeah. So I like the idea of going into beautiful places and helping people write. So on a writing retreat, people come with all kinds of ideas. The space is just to find out what's inside of people, let it start to come out, and finding different ways of accessing their inner voice, the writing voice, the creative voice. And the trouble for a lot of authors, or any creative, is finding that authentic writing voice. Because they go, I like that voice and I like that author, but in that are just clues for the true voice. And when you start finding it, it's almost like a golden thread. You go, wow, this is really exciting, and it becomes really like a hot thread. When I write books, for example, you can start writing, that's kind of alright, oh, that's hot, it's following the hot thread.
Is it a feeling, the hot thread?
It's a feeling, like even with like coaching with somebody, I could say to someone...
It's a nice title for a book, The Hot Thread.
The Hot Thread, or the Golden Thread. I'd say to somebody, okay, tell me about what you like, and they go, well, I really want to create a beauty product or a health clinic, and I'm going, your body language is like, no, okay, tell me more. And then suddenly there might be an aliveness, the eyes spark up, or they say something that's kind of odd, and they go, that's it, what's that? And because the body will start speaking, and they go, and then we're off onto some thread. You know, I had a coaching client recently who goes, I'm stuck, I'm a lawyer, I don't know what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. And so we had a drink and we were chatting, and she talked about astrology. And suddenly her eyes lit up. I went, what's that? And she's doing a diploma now in astrology.
Did she
part-time.
even know that before you? No.
We're too close to it.
Right.
That's the value of going to workshops or going to coaching or whatever, because somebody has to see it in you usually.
Right.
It's hard to see. We discount our gifts, we discount our path.
It's true, you know, you really do. I mean, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
All my gifts. No, but we do. We need somebody else to show us, and it's a gift, you know, being able to see that in other people. I often do this with a lot of my friends, and I have this way that I don't actually realize that I can pick out their talents. I can, you know, and we can do that for each other.
Yeah.
So do you find that on these writing workshops, people come because it's just writers, or because they just don't know where they're going, like this astrologer? What is...
Some people come because there's something inside them that needs healing, and writing is a path for them. There's something in their family they want to write about, or one woman that is also being coached has a work issue that she's writing about in a very funny way, like a Bridget Jones' Diary kind of way, that's healing a whole difficult period, but also is really enjoyable for her. This book actually healed a whole element of that 20 years of work.
Yeah.
So some people come for healing. Some people come because they just want to dive into their potential and find out what's there, and I just want to find out, can I write a novel, for example?
Wow. So it's not just people who want to write novels, but it's also people who are wanting sort of like a stream of consciousness, where you're just getting stuff out, you're writing your life.
Yeah.
You know, just as a healing tool. So it's not just for people who want to write a book.
So no,
Okay,
people might want to build a business and write a blog, or that's just as well. What I'm good at is I've got because I worked as an editor in alternatives for the web and non program for 12 years, and I edited my own books by and large. I'm very good at the kind of left brain structure, and I was a director of a company, so I've got to be a little bit of a left brain.
Yeah.
And I've got the kind of right brain creative, you know, like let's see. But what I'm good at is actually working with the two together. So most people are right brainers who come to me, who've got masses of ideas and can't structure them, or they can't put them together. Like I got a client recently, she's fascinating, she's a Jungian, did the masters and went to Switzerland, did 10 years of analysis. But it's just like, but she could write 20 books. And I said to her, you could write 20 books.
Yeah.
She said, yes I could. Yeah, but what is the one book?
Yeah.
This is the thing, because we haven't got time to write 20.
Where's the jewel?
Where's the one that all the rest would somehow fit in a line if you want to write the 20? What's the one that starts the process? Yeah. And we got it, you know, we took 2 sessions and now she's off, you know.
She's found her golden thread.
Yeah, that's one thing I can do, is I can help people very quickly sort out, you know, like do you ever see Minority Report, the film where you can sort out, you know, all that. And I'm very good at that idea. No, okay, next one, that one, no, that one, that's hot, okay. What is it about that? Tell me, what leads to that? So I'm very good at actually structure.
such a gift.
I'm not just like a right brain that can say, okay, let's just open up your right brain.
Let's just free that inside.
Structure is what a lot of right brainers want.
Yeah.
And when they come to retreats, they go, but we can't structure our ideas, and it's very easy to do that.
Well, you see, this is where the balance comes back in. You need the left brain, and you need the right. You need the balance, don't you?
Yeah.
Now, as you were speaking, I was thinking of some great thread that I seem to have lost. So talking about back to the writing retreats. So people can come onto a writing retreat. They don't have to want to write a novel.
No.
They can come for a healing, like a stream of consciousness writing, where you're writing out your path, your life, your journey, or just wanting to open up. And I know this because writing on with Julia Cameron, you know, the morning pages.
Yeah.
It is like a fountain of creativity inside there. And it's not necessarily that, you know, you want to write a book, but just something just explodes.
Yeah,
just
so finding that self-expression, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to write about today, I'm a bit bored, and then suddenly you're off.
Suddenly something wakes up.
Yeah.
Do you stream of consciousness write? Do you do morning pages?
I did morning pages for a long time. I do differently things now. But that stream of consciousness, accessing the stream of consciousness. Yeah. And it's like, which one do you want to access? Because you can access different levels. Yeah. There's an inner child level where we could just go, you know, let's play with, like, you know, when I did a lot of stuff around inner child, inner adolescent, all these levels of our being. Yeah. You can tune in, and they have different desires and wishes.
I never thought of that like that, but it's so true. You have many different voices when you write.
And a lot of them are squashed, like the inner child, inner vulnerability, the part of us that wants to play and have fun and express. Yes. And also, in Tantra, they say the child holds our sexual energy. So it's a very useful part to connect to. Okay. And in Britain, because we're mostly suppressing our emotions and our child self, our sexual energy is also a bit like very suppressed, you know. Yes. That's why we need to go to Tantra workshops.
You studied Tantra, didn't you? That was one of your... So Tantra, and then what, tarot? You studied tarot as well.
Oh, I've studied a lot of things.
Were these like hobbies that called you?
Hobbies are also like tarot, for example. I don't do "you're going to meet a dark, handsome stranger" thing. I go, and I do mostly for fun. I don't charge ever for tarot. So I did one yesterday and open it up and go, wow, so this is the pattern of what's going on now. Yeah. This is what's possible. This is what's probably challenging you. Yeah. This is what you can call upon to enhance the journey. I don't go, okay, in 2 months you're going to meet this. I don't do that. It's all about potential. Out of interest,
how long ago did you go into this tarot?
I started about 17 years ago. 20 years ago, I think it was. One of the, you know, that when I said the 6-month synchronicity thing after my father died, I met a woman who I thought was a language teacher, who turned out to be a witch. And like her room was seriously like, whoa, what's in this room? It's like the walls were painted deep purple, the ceiling was painted black, and her bookshelf was full of books of like the most amazing kind. And I stopped doing the language lessons after a while. I said, teach me tarot, and she taught me tarot. Wow. In a way, like very intuitive, and I got it. Like I could do tarot.
But it's interesting because it seems as though you have a passion for helping people transition. Yeah. You know, helping see people, helping them see their, you know, little jewels in their lives and things they are not seeing. Yeah. But you studied a way to do that in a spiritual way. It was a way in. So it's not like you'll meet the tall doctor, but just those cards allow you to somehow give that
That's one
to
way
people.
In. There are other ways. There are other ways in.
And now you're doing that now, again, as a coach.
Yeah, there are different ways in. You've got to find out what's the real deep conversation going on in this person's life, because there are a lot of superficial ones. You know, got to get shopping, got to got to look good, got to do this, got to be the right state, all this. Yeah. But those have to be parted and go, okay, what's the real conversation running underneath?
Out of interest, do you think that people out there who are stuck, who are in professions they don't like, do you think they can, you know, in that state of stress, can still be creative, still find creativity?
Yes, you can do it outside of work and then find ways to bring it into work. So I know my dentist, who I call the tooth fairy. Yeah. She lives in Bulgaria, she's fantastic. And I didn't understand that she has a very, very deep creative side. And I say, but she kind of brings it into her work somehow. And it's a very beautiful, I didn't like dentists before, but she has a studio where you've got mountains in the kind of window, open the window and there's mountains. So you're laying there with this very beautiful music and they're like angels walking around you. And she I don't know, she was telling me how she brings creativity to work. She absolutely loves it, and people love her because there's something different about her. And I can't remember now how she does it, but there's all kinds of ways of bringing in energies into your work that maybe your work doesn't traditionally hold. You know,
but you can add something a little bit different, a little bit your own.
You can add your own, because it's your own personality you're bringing in.
Yeah.
And rather than the environment starting to crush you, you can start to open up the environment. Conversations are a great way of doing it. A very simple way, for example, if you're in a very repressive environment and everyone's very critical, just suddenly really appreciating people in that environment, they'll seem like you've physically assaulted them. Like, you know, you say, I can remember saying, you know, I can really see you've got a great ability to do X to one person. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, this is, we complain here. We don't, and they look shocked. Yeah. But you do that, it's like a state break in NLP, they would call it, like a state break. Like, let's complain and let's all complain. Suddenly you do appreciation, they go, oh my God, we just can't compute
that is so out of field. Where did that come from?
And if you do it enough, suddenly you break the whole pattern and suddenly the whole thing shifts. You know, but that takes like an art of, it takes courage because they might not like it at the beginning. Like, what are you talking about? But you have to persevere.
Yeah. Do you think there's an artist in everyone?
Yes, but the way that artist manifests, it's always going to be very, very different, you know. And the form of the artist, for me, writing is perfect. I tried lots of different, I tried jewellery making, I tried stained glass, I tried, what else did I try? Painting.
Gardening.
I tried gardening.
Plants.
Yeah, and I like gardening, but...
Cooking.
Cooking, yes. But there are elements you can channel into that, but it wasn't the main way. But the every morning when I get up, I'm usually racing to the computer because I've got all these ideas from the dream state, and I've just got to get them down, you know. So writing is...
It's your passion.
And people say, how do you get the discipline? I go, no problem, you know. Keep me away from that computer, that's the problem.
So really, it is just so, it is, you have your voice, you found your golden threads in writing.
And there's a fire with it.
And there's a fire, and there's a passion. So many, you know, I just think I meet a lot of people that are quite stiff, workers, and they've never picked up a paintbrush or, you know, maybe tried to write a poem or something. But I always feel that somewhere they are stuck in something, because each one of us must have some creative, maybe it's cooking, maybe it's gardening, maybe it's something, but we need to express that to truly like feel alive.
Yeah.
You know, that balance of left and right brain.
Yeah.
It's so important. Do you think that when people relax, like maybe after doing yoga, when you really chill out and help people move from this fight or flight energy into the love and light energy, are they more available? Like taking them away to Greece, for example.
Yeah, 2 weeks in Greece and you're suddenly transformed. But anything, you can go into a yoga retreat or anything. Yes. Immerse yourself in inspiration, in peace, in mindfulness, in awareness, anything like that. Yeah. What calls you. If you immerse yourself, you'll get a kind of contrast. There's my old reality and there's this new reality. And the contrast gets more stark. Yeah. But then, you know, which one do you choose? Well, this one actually. And so the more you do that, I mean, in the beginning it is a bit up and down. You meditate, you're in bliss, you go to work and you're in like, oh. And then you come home, you meditate, you're in bliss. So the beginning is like that, but eventually it starts to stabilise, where you start making choices in line with this other thing that's calling you. Yeah. So I immersed myself for 20 years in alternatives, made a huge impact in my energy. Yeah. But I also did a lot of other things outside. I did lots of weird and wonderful light body stuff, and I was doing several years of Wiccan rituals, which were the most beautiful, singing and storytelling and stuff that I'd ever seen. I did 15 years of shamanism. I went off and studied astrology. Now I'm studying astrology because suddenly I found a new passion for it. And it's starting to make sense in my head. You know. Is
Linda Goodman still the lady? Do people still talk about her? Or?
I don't know. There are a lot of people on the scene now. I don't know.
Astrology is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I found a new passion for astrology after all these years.
So really, what I'm hearing here is, you know, you do many things. Shamanism, just, you know, all
Tantra
these
was a passion for a while.
Tarot cards, astrology. Whereas, you know, there is definitely a mindset that I must do one thing and one thing only. Whereas really, you're just bringing everything into your life and into your being, and then, but you love writing, so that's your main passion.
Yeah.
but there's no boundaries. And I think that's a very big message, that people can study so many things. On the weekend you can study pottery, you can study poetry, you can study anything you like, just to enrich yourself.
Yes.
Which is it's part of creating passion in your life, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes people may be in a job they really hate, but it could actually also be just the energy inside of them that they're fighting with. Maybe the job's okay.
Maybe it's okay, they just need to bring a new attitude to it.
Maybe they just need to bring a new attitude.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
they just need to center their souls by actually offering some balance. Maybe from the weekends they did go and, you know, ride that bike on the weekends and paint pictures. Maybe they come back to work differently.
Yeah, and as they shift, the work actually shifts. My ex-partner was telling me she works in the NHS. She struggled for a while. She really went through a big shift, and now she said to me, I met her the other week, she said, I love my job, I love the people. I'm like, that's a shift.
That's a shift.
And I don't want to go, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that can happen.
That can happen.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not always about changing the job, it could be about changing ourselves.
Well, it's always about changing
yourself, right?
I think the great thing about British culture, I mean, not everyone who's listening to this is British or living in Britain, but the thing I like about British culture, it took me a while to appreciate it, is they love eccentrics. It's a great thing about Britain.
Okay.
So being a slight heretic or maverick is okay, because in British culture there's a kind of value in where some cultures don't value. If you step too far out the norm, you're like, no. But in Britain you can, you know, we've had punk rock, we've had all these kind of, it's kind of started in Britain, so we tolerate it much more in Britain.
Yeah.
So I like living in London because there's a certain more greater tolerance for eccentricity. Yes. So you can be a yoga teacher and a filmmaker and go to a party and people go, that's really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas if you were in some other country, they might go, well, do you make money from that?
Yes.
You know.
How do you do that?
Yeah, how do you do that? So there's much more narrower. So in England, particularly London, the boundaries are a bit broader.
Yes.
Or maybe New York would be the same, or some other cities.
Yes, we're very lucky. We're very lucky to live in melting pots where people accept so much, you know.
Yeah, I know South Africa's a melting pot now.
It
Spirituality is pouring in.
Yes.
So there are some very light places in the world, and there's some very dark places where if you go, like, I was in Texas not so long ago, and I'm like, oh my God. This is seriously
a long way to go.
It's all about money, it's all about oil and gas, it's all about how big a car is.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there are places like Austin and that. But
yeah, I was going to say, Austin is such a spiritual
there's that
place.
there. And there are light places around, but as a whole, it's like Bible Belt, and seriously,
It is. I always wonder, you know, because there's a beautiful ashram in Austin, Basana Dam, that I went to, and I always wonder, there are more yoga studios in Austin than any state in America.
They're holding the whole state up, I think.
And I think, well, how's this possible? It's like this little eye inside the storm of, you know, religion and just the corporate world. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But Austin, we love, thumbs up for Austin.
Yeah.
So, Steve, thank you so much.
Are we at the end again? That's amazing.
I know, but
speaking about something passionate about, time just goes on.
I know, it just flies by. So I really want to share this work and your work with everybody. How can they find you? Somebody wants to join one of your writing retreats?
My website is stevenobel.com. That's Steve, Nobel.com.
Not Nobel.
No,
but Nobel's
Nobel.
good.
Yeah. Nobel, the creator of Dynamite and the Peace Prize. That kind of paradox.
The Nobel Peace.
I like that.
Exactly. So stevenobel.com.
Yeah.
And your writing retreats are also passion retreats, really, to awaken passion, not just for people wanting to write novels. No. And they are everywhere. You do them internationally, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. And as a life coach, you mentor people in London.
A lot of people are authors, and some people are. I also transitions coaching and like vocational coaching.
Okay.
So they're the people But most of the people who come to me are kind of more creative right-brainers. I have coached like chemical engineers and lawyers, and yes, but mostly they tend to be kind of have a strong creative side. They want to do something different. Yeah.
And also for the so you're doing your writing. Where can we buy these books?
You can buy it on Amazon, of course.
Yes.
It's published by Watkins Publishing in London, and but it's around available in places like America.
Amazon is great. Most people use Amazon. I use Amazon all the time. So the Enlightenment of Work, for all of those out there who are just aching to express something new in their lives and a way to do it. And then the big transitions is going to be out soon.
Yeah, well, that's just went to the Frankfurt Book Fair, so we'll see what happens. That's about the whole nature of transition, which I've worked out as a process that people go through with it's almost like a map with markers, and knowing the markers can help, go through the journey, because it's almost like a dip and up. But when people are on the downward slide,
they're going. Roadmap.
It's a roadmap, but the journey is always different for two people, but the road is similar.
Yeah. So you've got So you've got the skeleton, and then the flesh is always different, right?
Yeah. Content's different, but the context is the same.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful.
Thank you.
Just to hear all your wisdom and your journey.
Thanks for having me.
So thank you very much, and to all of you out there, namaste. Thanks for watching.